Hello everybody, Lyle at C&S Corvettes talking about what is the best out of the C3 third generation Corvette years to buy if you're out shopping for one. Today we're going to be talking about part 2, which involves the years 1973 through 1977. Now, as you're probably aware, none of the years that I'm talking about today had anything close to decent horsepower because of EPA standards and the fuel crunch and. So any of these cars, unless you're going to be doing some serious modifications to them, are not going to be race cars. They're going to be really cool cruisers, and they were good at that. But there's some things about different years in here that are better than others, so let's start talking about that. First year of production, 1973. Big block still available, albeit at 275 horses. Small blocks pushing around 200, so again, not great power. But there were some cool things. We still had chrome bumpers on the rear, although in 73 they went to the urethane bumper on the front. Only year they did that. So 73 has kind of a unique look, and it's always kind of held a special place in my heart because of that. They no longer have the removable rear window in the coupes like they did in 72 and back. It's now stationary. But everything else pretty much kind of sort of stays the same. You've got the different fender vents on the front that carry through all the way through 79. Availability of aluminum wheels supposedly started in 73, although we really didn't start seeing them until later in late 74, 5. Good solid cars, and because they're unique, that's not a bad investment, especially if you get your hands on a good one that has been well cared for, or a survivor that has been well cared for. Moving on to 74, last year of the big block, virtually zero power from just that big block mill. I think it was down to 260 or something like that. Made a lot of noise, a lot of heat, and drank a lot of fuel. They got about 6 miles to the gallon. The small blocks back down power again. 74 had a unique urethane rear bumper, because now in 73 we had the chrome at the back, but now they went to a urethane rear bumper in the back. But it was the only year they did a split rear bumper, two-piece rear bumper with a seam going down the middle. Very unique to that year. They eliminated that going into 75, but you can always spot a 74 because it's got the split going down the middle of the rear bumper. Decent car, but not doesn't quite have the cachet or the collectability of a 73. 1975. 75 was the low watermark for horsepower. Okay, you're talking 160 to 180 horses. They made a bunch of cars in 75. It was the last year of the convertible. So if you want the latest C3 convertible you can get, you're going to go shopping for a 75. I've always done well with those cars. Pretty well built. Don't have a lot of the problems that the early C3s had. But if you're going to look for a 75, look for a really nice coupe. If you can get a 4-speed, look for a 4-speed. If you can get a convertible, even better, because it's the last year of it and they didn't make a bunch of them. 76, kind of a continuation of 75. There weren't a great deal of differences in the cars, other than the fact that you couldn't get a convertible and power was still down. They were just kind of the same car. Not a lot changed between 75 and 76. Moving into 77, 77 was another one of those transition years where they started changing things, getting ready for the big interior change that was going to happen in 1978. So it has its own center gauge bezel. The dash was slightly different. The door panels were slightly different. Everything had a little bit of difference to it. It was also, I think, the first year that wasn't called the Stingray. That may have been 76, but I think something in my head tells me it was 77. And those cars, 77s are a solid bet because they were really sorted out all of their problems with the C3 platform by that time. Again, you will run into difficulty if you have to replace some of the 77 individual bits on the interior. They're available, but they cost a little bit more. Still a solid choice if you want a nice driver to bump around with on the weekends. That pretty much covers our 73 to 77. Again, my favorite being the 73 because of the chrome bumpers and still having some power to it. But whatever you like is going to be okay because it's your wallet doing the work. Next week, we're going to talk about the 78 to 82 cars and round out what the best C3s were out of each generation. See you soon.